Have you wondered about living elsewhere after you retire? Well, we have almost daily. As you know, it is not an overnight decision. Hi, this is Gil
and Gene
of Retire There, a podcast about places to consider living in during your retirement. Hey, guess what, folks? I retired!
Oh, my goodness.
This July 2021. I'm so sorry, Gene. I wish you could join me in the freedom, but you have a few more years for that pension.
I don't think you're that sorry.
I am. Can't you tell? We embarked on searching for a new place to move for our retirement. We made a trip to Winter Park, Florida in February of 2020, came home and said, maybe not for us. As we were planning for the next trip, the pandemic arrived. Gene then came up with this brilliant idea of doing a podcast to find out what others are doing. With so many baby boomers retiring, many must be relocating. So why not connect with them and pick their brains? Here's a little background about us. I'm Asian, born in Brazil, and grew up in Flatbush, Brooklyn. I'm an engineer turned attorney turned podcaster. Oh man, I'm getting dizzy.
Yes, you are.
Thanks. I recently retired from my job practicing higher education law within a university. No more students, faculty, or staff. Whoa, this is going to be great. I love the college environment, but what do I honestly love even more? Sleeping in, not setting an alarm, staying up all hours, binging crime drama, and silly romantic comedies, developing the podcast, volunteering. Okay, let me stop. More to come, people. More to come. Jane?
I'm not Asian. And as Gil mentioned, I'm not retired. I'm just plain tired.
I'm sorry.
Born and raised in Long Island, New York, a place I've always wanted to leave. We've lived in Brooklyn, New York for many years and have been thinking about our future home. I'm a law librarian working in a court who loves his job, but we're retired by the time we select our ideal location.
Don't know about that.
We've been speaking to folks from all around the country and world who have moved to their dream venues and more. So please stay tuned. And remember, if you know anyone who has moved anywhere for retirement, let us know.
Hello, everyone. Today, we'll be chatting with Julie Sosinski about Hayward, Wisconsin, and Bonita Springs, Florida, but mostly Hayward. Hayward is located in the upper northwest region of the state. Apparently, there's an annual nationwide competition for the best Main Street. It'll be its 6th year this December. This event supports local businesses and what they bring to the venue. Hey, Gene, did you know that small businesses employ 77 million Americans?
Love those small shops.
Yeah, I know you always say shop local. Hayward has been competing and has made it to the top 10 amongst downtowns across America with those big cities and everyone else. Well, that's quite an accolade. Now, here's something fascinating. Hayward is also home to the National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. So it's only natural that they would also have the world's largest muskie. Standing at 143 feet long and 41 feet tall, the fiberglass structure of a muskie holds names of world record holders in fishing across the world. Over 3,000 entries. Boy, when I saw that thing yesterday, I didn't think it was real. Oh, man. You can check out the names and climb the steps to show yourself from the muskie's mouth, 4 stories off the ground. It's a popular place to get your picture taken. Of course, how can one resist? This fish also holds the title of the world's largest fiberglass structure. So you're getting 2 for 1 in terms of world's largest distinctions. All right, Gene, we're going to have to check it out with Max. We keep going to these Hall of Fames, but this is much more interesting than basketball. No, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. I'll get killed.
You know how I love these large structures, like the Big Elephant in New Jersey?
Yeah. Oh,
love that thing.
That one's really cool, too. Well, here's a little background about our guest.
Julie was born and raised in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and resided in Superior, Wisconsin, near the shores of Lake Superior, for most of her life. In the early 2010s, her husband took a job at the Bakken oil field in North Dakota, and the couple moved to a home near the oil field. In 2011, they purchased a condo in Bonita Springs, Florida. Her grandparents had been snowbirds and then full-time residents there, so she's familiar with the community as she has visited frequently. The idea was once they retired, they'd sell their home in North Dakota, move back to Wisconsin to purchase a lake home in the woods near Hayward, allowing them to reside in Wisconsin most of the year and snowbird to Florida for a few months each winter. In 2017, Julie's husband tragically died from a work accident. She was devastated, and her future instantly became a question mark, as did her retirement plans. Ultimately, Julie decided to stay in North Dakota for at least a few more years. Julie eventually met a new partner. In 2020, she purchased a lake home 30 minutes southeast of Hayward, Wisconsin, fulfilling the dream of her and her late husband.
Julie isn't retired quite yet, Gene, but considers herself in the red zone of retirement. Think football. She spent many years in the medical field, but she currently works at a microbrewery where she hands out free samples of beer, among other duties. Her interests include fishing, camping, hiking, swimming, boating and kayaking, gardening, cooking, and travel. So, Julie, welcome to Retire There. We know you were a Wisconsin native, but moved away, and now purchasing in Hayward again. Why Wisconsin, and specifically, why Hayward? Please tell us.
Hi there. Hayward, mostly because we had lived about 2 hours from the Hayward Lakes area. We had vacation there frequently, just spent time there. Being near Lake Superior, the weather can be very volatile. It can go from 85 degrees in the summer to 55 a few minutes later if the wind decides to switch out of the east and bring that cool breeze across the lake and onto shore. So being away from the lake, as in Hayward, we could escape that. It would be a much warmer summer, climate that you could count on, let's say. It wasn't so drastic. So we got to know that area, and being that I like to fish, it was a natural to want to be there eventually, where we could just walk off the pier at our lake home and fish whenever we felt like it. That was our dream. So when my husband passed, I eventually met Bob, and Bob is actually fish crazy. And so he and I will definitely be doing a lot of fishing there. He actually is a muskie fisherman as well. And as you said in your introduction, he'll be right at home there. We're right near the Chippewa Flowage, which is just southeast of Hayward a bit. And we're on the southeast corner of the Chip, as they say. It's a Class A muskie area that Chippewa Flowage is. And the lake that we're on is actually a Class B muskie lake as well. Someone took a 52-inch muskie from those waters a year or two before I bought the home there. Of course, released it, and unfortunately, it didn't survive. So they know it was recorded at 52 inches. So not a bad fish for a Class B lake. So,
oh my goodness!
For those of us who aren't fish aficionados, I like that. Can you tell us what the difference is between Class A, Class B, and how does that happen?
The ranking comes by the population of that particular species. Class A, the lake is going to probably be larger, and it's not necessarily though, but it's going to have the population of that species is going to be a larger fish, more towards a trophy size, and then a Class B would be a smaller size of that whatever species. So
Class A, we're talking about heavy duty, like how many pounds?
I don't even know pound wise.
It's measured by length, right?
Inches, right. Yeah. So, Bob's largest is 49 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So, yeah. Especially since I'm only 4'10", to think that fish is as big as me. So yes, it's quite impressive. Yes. Okay. But there's so much to do there beyond fishing as well. It's just a total recreation area. It's the true northern Wisconsin experience. Mm-hmm. It's very quiet. We're on such a peaceful area. The lake is so quiet. We're about a mile off the county road on a dead end. It just doesn't honestly, when I'm outside on my cell phone speaking, I almost feel like I'm disturbing the peace.
Oh, I'd love that.
So quiet.
That's so nice.
We have deer and turkey and all kinds of critters in our yard every day. There are elk in the area. I haven't spotted one yet, as well as black bears too. lots of coyotes, some wolves. A friend of mine posted a picture the other day on Facebook. She's a few miles north and west of where I am. Her daughter spotted a black wolf, which is quite rare. So goodness. Yeah, she got a good picture of it too. But there's plenty to do. Hayward also has, in the winter, it's actually one of the most winter friendly places in the upper Midwest. They have the Birkebeiner ski race every February. People come from all over the world. It's a cross country ski race. It's a lot of fun, even if you don't ski. So that's a really popular place to be. And then in the end of either the end of July into early August, depending on what weekend or how the calendar falls that year, they also have the Lumberjack Championships. Wow. And that's actually, I've seen ESPN there filming that. Yeah, the Lumberjack Championships. So they have a venue there that they use for that. And when they're not doing that championship weekend, they do have lumberjack exhibits in the town of Hayward a couple days a week during the summer when tourism is at its peak.
Oh, and nice. That's the Lumberjack Village, right?
Yeah. I think that's what the venue is called, the Lumberjack Village. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys are pretty up north. What's the weather, would you say, year round?
Oh, in the summertime, it's fabulous. Great sleeping weather at night. The lows are usually low 60s, upper 50s. The daytime highs, usually like July would be upper 70s, low 80s, probably an average temp of 78, I would say, in July. The falls are just astounding. The foliage is breathtaking. It's just beautiful. Mm-hmm. We can take drives in the country or along this north shore or south shore of Lake Superior, which the north shore obviously is in Minnesota, but it's just absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. We have so many maples. So we have a lot of bright reds.
Nice.
And it's gorgeous. Wow. So that brings a lot of tourism in too. Just people wanting to rent a cabin for the weekend so they can take a walk in the woods and take a drive, go to a pumpkin patch or a fall festival.
Nice.
Very common in the fall. Mm-hmm.
And how long are the winters? Does it get, below?
Oh yeah, no. The winters can start early and go kind of long. It just depends. Like right now they had a dusting of snow a few days ago here and there in northwestern Wisconsin. It's gone. It's just a dusting.
We're in November, and that wouldn't be unusual to have some snow, right?
Because deer hunting is such a big thing. It's pretty much a state holiday. Yeah, that starts the Saturday before Thanksgiving and goes until the Sunday after Thanksgiving. The hope is to have some snow so that the deer can be tracked. That's helpful, especially if one has been struck. They need to track it. It's easier to see blood on stark white snow than it is on fallen leaves. So yeah, we always hope for some snow by then, and it doesn't always happen. But predominantly by November, the end of November into December, you should have some snow. One year, living in Superior, Wisconsin, raising the children, 30 years ago this past Halloween, we had quite the blizzard. It was very unusual. The lake was still wide open, of course. It seldom ever freezes over. Lake Superior doesn't. But the water was quite warm yet because it was only late October. So a front decided to stall over the lake. It snowed pretty much for about 3 days straight.
Wow.
And at the end of it, we measured in at 37 inches.
Whoa.
Oh, my goodness.
That was very unusual. So needless to say, we had snow early on that lasted until probably April when things our snowiest month can often be March.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it does go through quite about 5 months of winter. Okay.
Like my father used to say, though, the later the visit, the shorter the stay. Oh. So the March snows would come, and they were often blizzard-like. My oldest son, his birthday is the 8th of March, and he was born in a blizzard. We often had a blizzard type storm around his birthday.
Wow.
Many years. So March can be a very snowy month. But like I said, mm-hmm. Dad always said the later the visit, the shorter the stay. Because a few weeks later, we can be, no snow at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and you're into spring. So the 4 seasons you feel, I guess.
We have 4 true seasons.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us about the affordability of, like, what would a future retiree look at in terms of cost of homes?
Home-wise, it just depends, I guess, on if you want to just be out in the country, if you want to be on water, it's going to be significantly different. You can get a lot more home for the money if you're not on water. And of course, your property taxes will reflect that as well. But yeah, you can be on, well, I shouldn't say anything. Up until recently, you could probably get a fairly nice house on a lake in that neck of the woods for $350 and up. So that's a bargain for a lot of people in other areas of the country. One of the big perks to living in Wisconsin is there's no state tax on your Social Security in Wisconsin.
Oh, nice.
And if you're retired from the military and you collect a pension, you don't pay state tax on that as well. So yeah, those are 2 benefits.
Okay.
Property taxes are dependent on, every county is a little different. In Hayward, I think it's relatively affordable. It just, it depends. Like my property has 10 acres of land and I have 1,000 feet of lakeshore. Mine are going to be a little higher, but that's what I wanted. So it's worth it to me. Yeah. So it just depends. I mean, if you have a smaller lot and you're on water, you're going to pay much less. You're going to pay. We saw properties where they were $1,200, $1,500 a year and they were on water.
Okay.
But if you have a substantial amount of land, you're going to probably pay closer to $2,500, $3,500, $4,500.
But it sounds like even if you have a good sized property on the lake, you might not pay more than $5,000 a year.
Oh, no, you wouldn't. No, no.
Okay. No, because our listeners are always, curious as well as us. I mean, we pay here in Brooklyn, believe it or not, we pay about seven a year. But, in other parts of
in the suburbs, they pay a lot more.
Yeah, they pay a lot more in the suburbs. It's more than double. Yeah. Wow. So it really,
it's crazy,
we want to give people an idea. Okay. Okay. If you live near the lake, how close are you or far to grocery store? Is it walkable? Talk to us about that.
And everybody can pick their location. We wanted something that was kind of off the grid, as you could say. We wanted total privacy. The closest store is probably about 12 minutes down the road. There's a little mom and pop's grocery store in the small town of Winter, Wisconsin. Hayward is, 25, 30 minutes away. Rice Lake is about an hour. In Rice Lake, we'd have some of your bigger retailers. You would have like Hobby Lobby and Kohl's, along with things like Walmart and whatnot. Hayward's great because there is also a lot of small shops, like we talked about, family-owned businesses that we can utilize there too. So that's nice. And then Duluth Superior is, from Hayward, it's about an hour and a half. So about 2 hours from my back door to the Duluth Superior area. And there's just everything you could need and more. So I used all of those businesses in the past, including a lot of my medical and my dentist and everything. They're still there and I still use them. I will drive back for my medical care often, not for everything, but yeah, I do. I'm still there in a lot of ways, present, just not living there. Like we'll go back during Thanksgiving. The dock has already been brought in, so we don't have to do that. But we have a substantial amount of garage space there compared to here. So we store some of our things in there. And I do rent it when I'm not there. So,
okay. So currently, as we're recording, you're in where?
I'm in Western North Dakota.
All right. We just wanted the listeners to know.
I'm basically retired. I'm just waiting for Bob. I just have this little fun job that I do, and a couple days a week, a couple hours a day. And it gives me it was a lifesaver after I lost my husband. It gave me some structure to my week and got me out and had a little reason to push me out the door.
Sure.
That's what you want, Gil.
Understand. That's what I retired about, 4 months now, and I'm waiting for Gene to retire. It's very different when I guess you're both retired because, like you say, you kind of feel a little lost. I, for a couple of days, and I still do occasionally, get a little, I'm just kind of off, So I figured, let me join the gym, but that didn't help at all. I didn't go. Yeah. So it'd be nice when both of you are on the same wavelength. Yeah.
So Gil wants to find a job where she can exercise and get paid a little money.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, my job, I put in about 12,000 steps a day at my job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
That is perfect.
So yeah, that I can put on a couple miles just over lunch hour. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So
I kind of feel like when I come home, I feel like I've gotten paid to exercise.
yeah, that's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. Yeah. So I applied to the Home Depot. Yeah. And I got called. I'm going to be a fulfillment associate. If I go through with this all, I will be a fulfillment. So all I do is for the folks who place orders online, I will make sure that they get pulled, loaded onto the truck, and all the steps in between. So I'm going to be running around that huge Home Depot. Yeah, I'm gonna be quitting my Planet Fitness very soon.
Yeah, there you go. You won't need it.
Yeah. So Julie, tell us, you need a car then. It sounds like you need a car where you live.
Oh, you definitely need a car.
In Hayward if you're going to need stuff for the home, right?
Oh gosh, yeah.
And how far is the closest supermarket?
Like I said, the Winter, Wisconsin is about 12 minutes down the road. They have a little IGA store, a lot of cute little mom and pop shops there, a couple that are empty that I'm hoping people buy and make into restaurants or businesses. Yeah, it's kind of struggled like a lot of small towns have. But here's the thing. There are many more people coming to rural America.
Yes.
That has reflected a lot, of course, in the lack of housing to be purchased in that area this year versus last year and the year before. So 2 years ago, Bob and I went and spent the week after Labor Day at a fishing resort kind of place on the Chippewa Flowage. We were there for a week. Seeing that it was after Labor Day, the families were gone. So it was mostly people of our age group, couples. During the course of the week, we get done we get done fishing and we go to eat, have a drink, whatever. Got to have a brandy old fashioned in Wisconsin. So anyway, we go and socialize with other people. And we found out that all the other couples there were from Illinois. And every single one of them said that when they retired, they were moving to rural Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, that vicinity.
Well, that's
interesting. In the last year or two, there has been a huge influx of people leaving Illinois, retired and not, as well as Minneapolis area, predominantly Minnesota, but mostly the Twin Cities area.
Wow, a lot of city folk.
Big city people going to rural areas. Wisconsin is their choice for many of them. I always call it Paul Bunyan's backyard. Being that I'm on the prairie, there's so many trees. The forest is immense there. A lot of national forests in that area too. So I've been on the prairie now for almost about going on 10 years. So it's a lot of trees there, and I miss those trees. So I always tell everyone I'm going to move to Paul Bunyan's backyard.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah. It sounds so nice. Yeah.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It is nice. It's that quiet, peaceful, low population. Yeah. I mean, in the summertime, it gets bumper to bumper in that little town of Hayward in the summertime on the weekend.
What about, you talked a little about healthcare. Can you talk more about healthcare? Where's the nearest hospital? How far is that?
Oh, there's a lot of good medical care in the area. Marshfield, which isn't far away, that's 45 minutes or so. They have an outstanding clinic and hospital there. We're about a little over an hour away from Eau Claire, maybe an hour and 15 minutes or so. And then Duluth Superior, you have regional health care there. You're not too far from Minneapolis, which means that you're not too far from the Mayo Clinic.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mayo, 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes or so to Minneapolis, and probably another, 45 minutes to Rochester from there. That wouldn't be so out of the way if you would need something. Yeah. If you would need something big. Yeah.
Right.
That wouldn't be, it would be close enough under those circumstances.
Yeah. In the town of Hayward, though, I assume there are physicians that you can easily get, right?
Yeah.
If you have like a bad cold, but you're not sure and you want to get yourself checked. I mean, is that easily attainable?
Oh, yeah. There's healthcare there. In fact, there's a couple of the doctors that I utilize in the Twin Ports actually spend most of their time living in the Hayward area.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For the medical professionals, we have quite a few of the Mayo doctors that frequent that area and then eventually just said, you know what, we're going to live here.
That's
between
good.
Duluth, Superior, and northwestern Wisconsin. Yeah. So
But if you did have to fly out, where's the nearest international airport or nearest airport?
You could use Eau Claire. You could use.
How far is that from Hayward?
So Eau Claire, probably about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes from Hayward, or actually from Hayward, it'd be a little more. I'm thinking from my house, it'd be a couple hours from Hayward, an hour and a half maybe. It's interstate.
Okay.
About 2.5 hours from Minneapolis. Duluth Superior is an hour and a half from Hayward. So the Duluth International Airport. I will use Minneapolis as often as possible. When I did live there in the past, that's where I could get amazing airfare rates out of Minneapolis.
Okay.
It's Delta's hub. It's just always,
Okay.
It's always been a good market for a good price.
Okay. Oh.
I did look into it. It's not a lot more expensive to go out of, like, say, Eau Claire either. $70 more to fly out of Eau Claire.
But Eau Claire sounds like it's an hour and a half away from your lake home. You could travel pretty much around the states, right? But if you wanted to go international, it sounds like you'd go to Minneapolis.
Well, Eau Claire would take you to Minneapolis.
So there's a connecting flight. You don't have to.
These smaller towns take you to the larger towns. That's all that happens.
Right. Okay. No, we're trying to get a sense for those who wish to travel a lot internationally. They might want to be something closer. So we're trying to get a sense of what it's like to live on a lake. Obviously, you're not going to have an international next door because then you don't want to live there. What's the point?
So skipping to my Southwest Florida life, one of the biggest things I tell people when they look to retire, especially if they're going to do a sunshine location like Florida or Arizona, make sure you're in a close proximity to a decent airport, because you're going to be there often if you have friends and family flying in. When my late husband was alive, he would fly down every month. His work schedule allowed him he would take about 12 days. So he would come down, he'd be there, he'd fly back. I was 15 minutes from the regional Southwest airport. It's just east of Fort Myers.
So that we're talking now about Bonita Springs, yes?
Right. Okay. Correct.
Gotcha.
I won't need to be near an airport so much in Wisconsin. The people that are coming to visit me will predominantly be driving there. Should they fly in? I have no problem running to Minneapolis. Having lived out here, Bob had a doctor's appointment yesterday and he traveled to Bismarck, nearly 3 hours away. You just do that. It's just, so for us, that's nothing. Going to but when you're in a Sunbelt location, you're going to have people wanting to come see you in the wintertime. And if you're 45 minutes or an hour and a half away from an airport, and you're doing that every 2 weeks, and you're getting older and you're fighting traffic.
Yeah, that's my point.
Right. Exactly. So when it comes to picking, in my case, that location during retirement, my winter retirement home, it was very important to be near a good airport that's going to be utilized. And Regional Southwest, many carriers come into that airport.
And so, like you say, that's the one near Fort Myers, right?
Correct. Yeah. And it's only about 15 minutes from my condo to RSW. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's
might be
great.
5 minutes more in crazy traffic, but not really. Hop on the interstate and I go a few miles up and boom, I'm there. Yeah. It's a small airport, but it handles a lot of people really well.
And so besides the weather, one of the big differences, I think, between your Florida home and your Wisconsin home is that Florida, you can get traffic, especially in the wintertime, right?
Oh, yeah. Population is, there's the influx of people, for those winter months, the snowbirds coming in, it just changes life there a lot. My grandparents that were snowbirds there for many, many years, they were married 77 years and they retired in their 50s. They had a lake home in east central Wisconsin. They wintered in the Bonita Springs area too. As they got older, they became full-time residents when they got to the point where they couldn't travel back and forth. Yeah, so they were there. But when I was going to see them when I was young, that whole area was so undeveloped compared to now. It's night and day, just absolutely. It was a lot of farmland back then and grazing area.
Wow,
and
I don't
now
think of Florida as a farm.
I know, but it was, well, actually, I believe the largest ranch in America is located in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a lot of cattle in Central Florida. Yeah, still.
Yes. Cattle area, very ranchy.
Yes. Yeah, people don't realize that.
Yeah. So what's the cost of housing like in Bonita Springs? Can you share that with us?
Well, I bought, my late husband and we bought when the market fell. So obviously things were a lot different then. Anybody that was going to retire in the next 10 years and had any plans of doing something in Florida should have jumped on that bandwagon right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because now you're talking everything's 4 and 5 and 6 times what it was then. Wow. That was just such a golden opportunity. People that took advantage of it. It was honestly, I had hoped we could afford something someday in Florida. That made it pretty much possible for anybody to own something in Southwest.
Right.
It was apples and oranges. But you can, in my condo complex, which it's not a poshy tourist community, I'm there for the weather. I don't need to put on any airs or, I don't have to go through my gate in a Mercedes Benz or not even that. Let's say a Rolls Royce, like I see the next one up. There's people that I see coming through their gate all the time in their Rolls. There are more millionaires in Southwest Florida than per capita than anywhere else in America. There is that, but mine is not that way. It's pretty much retired. Oh gosh, we have retired GM workers, and we have people that postal carrier. Just blue collar mostly. You can still get a 1-bedroom condo in my complex for probably 120 or 30.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, good to know.
And people fret a little bit over HOA fees, but Bob and I were talking the other day, and I said, I wish people would stop to realize that if you're going to pay $300-400 a month or more, many are much more than that. But if you were like, my water and sewage is included. There's a pool there. There's tennis courts. I don't have to do lawn work. They just replaced the roof. That was out of, I don't have to worry about any of those things. Well, if you were paying a lawn service every week and you had a pool guy and you had to pay a water bill and you had to pay a sewage bill, I would think that would come to close to $400 right there.
So what are your HOAs in Bonita? Sure.
So a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, you're probably going to pay, I would guesstimate $600-700 or less. In my community, you're probably a 2-bedroom is like $450 or $4.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you have tennis courts. Do you have pickleball courts?
They use it for that as well.
Okay.
There's no golf course, and you're going to pay. I mean, if you're in a community where there's, where it's 200 acres, you're going to pay a lot more in HOA fees than you are in a community that's 20 acres. It's pretty obvious,
Yeah, of course.
And how far are you from the beach?
Off season and what time of the day? I can be there in about 10 minutes if it's not during rush hour or it's off season. I like to get up early and go before others. I like to go walk the beach in the morning.
So you can walk from your condo to the beach in about 10 minutes?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
No, I have to drive there.
Okay.
So
and how far is that?
10 or 12 minutes if it's not season or if it's an off time of the day. Like if you get up in the early morning, it's only going to take you 10, 12 minutes.
Gotcha. By car.
Right.
Okay.
I'm as the crow flies, I'm very near the water. It's just that bay we don't utilize that part of the bay.
Right.
Estero Bay is large. So it goes, from Fort Myers all the way down, into Bonita. It's a very large area. We don't have bridges that just go over. If I could just go down my road to the end of my road there and go on a bridge, I could be at the beach in probably 4 minutes.
But then, like you said, you have to find the parking, right? And that could be another little.
And they do have some areas. I know Collier County, just to the south, they have like a parking permit you can get. They used to do it in Bonita because my aunt also lived there for many, many years. There used to be like a parking pass. So some counties have, like a prepaid parking permit thing. And sometimes you get a place and there's no fee for parking. Because I've been there so long, I kind of know the ropes and where to go. So
right.
I know what to do to avoid some of these things.
And have you been to the Everglades Wonder Gardens where the botanical gardens are?
Oh, absolutely.
How is that?
It's very old Florida. Now that's right in Bonita Springs. It's very much like something that an attraction that would have been and was It actually was. I remember when I was a little girl, it stayed alive. And now a lot of us just utilize it just to keep it alive. Our main thing is, if we have guests, we'll take them there, especially if it's the day that they feed the crocodiles.
Oh, I love that.
The gators, I should say alligators. That's pretty interesting. So
that's what I love about Gatorland in Orlando. I love that place. No Disney World for me. I love Gatorland.
And I'm not, being in Southwest Florida, I'm not all that far from the Everglades. And just the short, you bug down in Naples and head east a little bit, and you're on Alligator Alley. And if you take that Alligator Alley and bring it to South Miami, and then I'm not all that far from the Keys either. We could leave in the morning and be having lunch in the Keys.
And so, but back to the Everglades Wonder Gardens, how's the botanical garden part of it? How's the gardens? Is it kept up? Is it pretty?
It is. It's not huge. It's not, because it's older and it's small. It's not as grand on the grand scale of things, how things have evolved into much bigger and better Florida attraction. And that's the attraction. There's a national or a state park there up the road. That is a very interesting story. It's evolved so much. It used to be just a sleepy little area. They were going to name Bonita Springs Survey. The surveyors in that area came and they were going to name it Survey. And they said, no, we have to come up with something more eloquent that would draw people.
Bonita Springs sounds so much better.
Yeah, doesn't that sound? There's actually a little business that's a great place, especially for breakfast in Bonita. It's called the Survey Cafe. It's because of that, because the surveyors were going to name it Survey.
Yeah. So is the plan to, when Bob retires, what's the split going to be? What does that look like for you guys? Like how many months
I'll
of
be
the
different
year?
than him. He won't probably spend as much time in Florida as I will. That depends on a few things. Like if we decide to buy a boat down there, he'll be there a lot more. So that would change the dynamics of that a lot. The split would be so different, closer to me. I don't like to be down there much past April. This time of year is nice. A lot of people don't go until after Christmas because they have grandchildren or whatever. And that's the other plus for me. When I am in Florida, my only grandchild is in Maryland, and I can hop on a plane. I have flown round trip from Southwest Florida up to Maryland for $80.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Round trip.
So I have literally or I've gone out to visit them and I'll book my flight for like 2 weeks. But in the middle of that, I'll take a week and book a trip and run down to Florida for a week. So I'll spend a few days with the family in Maryland, fly down to Florida for a week, come back, spend a few days again with them, and then fly back here. I was just there for Halloween. We went trick-or-treating. So the weather wasn't much nicer in Maryland than it wasn't here in North Dakota.
Yeah, I'll bet.
We had a nice fall. Yeah. So Bob will be there probably a couple months of the year. And if the boat happens, it'll be a couple more. I don't need to be, I do not dislike winter. I just don't like 7 months of it. It depends on how the weather is back home. If we have an early spring, I wouldn't spend as much time there. I do like to ice fish. So I might even, if I were to decide to be down there for 4 or 5 months, I might decide to fly back up to do some ice fishing, some cross-country skiing, some snowshoeing.
So you can fish year round?
Sure.
Ice fishing. Wow.
You don't know what that is, huh, Gil?
I've read about it, but I was just wondering in Hayward.
You know, some people have these little houses, little huts.
We do.
Right?
We do. Those little houses can be quite substantial nowadays.
Is that right?
Ice castles. Oh gosh. Some you can spend a week in. They're crazy.
Wow.
Now ours isn't really elaborate, but it's warm. That's warm is the goal, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And absolutely. They go in there and they make a hole in the ice and they fish.
Yeah. Right. I've seen that, and I've seen that in cartoons, but to have it in real life. So Julie, going back to Hayward, because I'm fascinated by it, for someone who isn't fish friendly or what other things what other things can a retiree look to do in Hayward? Sure.
So if you don't fish, there's a ton of other things. We enjoy just walking the trails. You can take a 4x4 on the trails. You can walk the trails. In the winter, you can snowshoe, you can cross country ski. Snowmobiling is huge there. Yeah. So all of those winter activities, the ice fishing, And there we go. It's back to fishing. So fishing is a big thing there, but it's not the only thing. The Birkebeiner ski race, I mean, that's not fishing. So, and that's a huge winter event there. There's plenty to do there. The whole lake experience in the summertime, just being the boating, the kayaking. Yeah, it's endless. Visiting the just little different little towns.
It sounds beautiful.
I love to go into those little towns with their little main street. And big thing in Wisconsin is a Friday night fish fry. So every restaurant pretty much is going to offer a fish fry. While you're socializing, waiting for that table, you better have yourself a brandy old fashioned. That's our drink. So Wisconsin's really big on supper clubs. I don't know if you know anything about supper.
Yeah.
And there is one just east of Hayward, not kind of halfway between where we are and Hayward itself, the Chippewa Inn. And it's a lot of clubs don't open often, usually until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So they only do supper, they do dinner, right? Mm-hmm. They often have a salad bar or a relish tray at the table. You know, steaks and seafood are the big thing predominantly, and an ice cream drink for dessert. So that's going to be like a grasshopper or a brandy Alexander. As you can see, brandy is a big deal in Wisconsin.
Is it ice cream or frozen?
It's just warm in the winter.
Yeah, really.
Is it ice cream or frozen custard? I know frozen custard is big in Wisconsin.
Frozen custard is big too. If you've ever experienced a Culver's restaurant, they're from Wisconsin. My hometown of Oshkosh, there's a little drive-in to this day that has been around forever, and they sell the frozen custard. Oh my goodness. Leon's Drive-In in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Like if a president comes to town, he goes to Leon's. Anybody big goes, So there's there's several mom and pop businesses have been around since well before I was born, and they're still there. So that's always fun to visit those when I'm there, or to take friends when I come to town. And
is Oshkosh where the kids' clothing company is from?
It is.
Oh, it is.
It started there. So here's a little story. So my aunt, he was a secretary for Oshkosh B'gosh, and my mom worked there a short time when she was young too. So they were a major employer in town. But you say kids' clothes. Let's step back. If you're older, and especially if you worked or had anything to do with farming in your lifetime, you would know that Oshkosh was men's wear. It was men's wear.
The overalls, right?
Work clothes and overalls. Yes. One day when I was about maybe second or third grade, I'm not sure. My aunt, maybe first. Anyway, my aunt said to me, I have something for you and I want you to do something. And I'm like, okay. And she showed me, she had these overalls in my size. And she says, you need to wear these to school next week a few times. And then you need to tell me what kids think of these. I guess I kind of helped launch the children's line of so, yeah, that's fun.
Back when I was in high school, overalls were big. Everybody had overalls.
As long as you don't drop the back of it in the toilet when you're going.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, yes, we've all done it.
Yeah.
My kids were wearing all the Oshkosh clothes too, they were in Oshkosh for a long time, and then they relocated to, I think, Kentucky. And then I think they went to Mexico, and now they've been bought out by Carter's.
Oh,
Carter's children's clothing.
Wow. Oh, Carter's. Oh, okay. I remember when I found out that when we found out that we were having a boy, and I headed straight to Oshkosh. It was right, in the city. You walk in, and I noticed a big difference. There was so much baby girl stuff.
Oh, not so much boys.
No, very little. You go over and you're like, okay, there's like,
that's always the case.
I know, it's so unfair. So then I was like,
I had 3 sons. I know this well.
Yes, exactly.
Now I have a granddaughter. So yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow.
But I remember thinking, Oshkosh, I always thought that they would have a ton of boy stuff because I'm relating it to the mail and Wisconsin, And then all of a sudden I found myself defending boys, because I was growing one. So then I headed straight to Baby Gap, and Baby Gap did it. Oh my God. Baby Gap that was it.
I guess they might not carry as many clothing items for boys, but the stuff they carry sure is cute.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
My boys lived in Oshkosh. We would go to the outlet store. We could buy them.
Oh.
So I paid as little as $3 a pair for them 30 some years ago when they were little. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. We could go to the outlet store and there'd be some little imperfection that you couldn't even find.
I know.
You know?
Yep.
That's when outlet stores are real, not like now.
I know. Yeah.
So I'm just curious, back to the Friday fish fry. What fish is big in Wisconsin?
Okay, so southern Wisconsin, you're going to have lake perch, yellow lake perch in like the Oshkosh area where I grew up. That was prominent fish for Friday. If you go up to Door County, which is a very big vacation area, my two sisters live there. They have what's called a fish boil, and they use whitefish out of Lake Michigan.
Yum, I love whitefish.
Yeah.
And up north in the Hayward area, it's going to probably be just about anything. It could be cod, it could be haddock. It depends on the business and what they carry. But you're not going to get the yellow perch.
I don't think I've ever had a yellow perch.
Oh, that's great.
And it's a panfish. So it would be like with your crappies and bluegills in that family of.
We've talked about a lot. When I was talking to you yesterday, you indicated that you have an idea of what retirees should do. Even before retirement, you basically said people should live their lives and just go for it. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yes, this bucket list, please, people, do not wait until you retire. My goodness. Having been widowed at 55 years old, I was on some closed Facebook pages with other widows my age, and so many of them were waiting to do things for, when they retired. They were going to take that trip to Alaska, or they were going to, which Bob and I plan to go to Alaska as well. In fact, when he retires, that'll be our first big trip. He is in the process of selling his 42-foot RV, his fifth wheel. On order, he has a truck camper. We took a trip to Alaska a year ago in August, discovered that true adventurers are not hauling a 36 or 42 foot something behind them.
But you said there's a fireplace in there, right?
In his 42 foot. Well, it's electric. The big camper, the big RV, it had everything. It was a full-size washer and dryer. It had a side-by-side refrigerator, central vac. It had 3 air conditioning units. I had a garage. It had a basement. It had, it had more than one bathroom. Okay.
An RV.
How do you pull that thing around?
We decided that we would downsize, and Bob ordered a pickup camper. So our first adventure after Bob retires will be leaving here and heading to Alaska for the entire summer.
And you've been there already.
I actually spent an entire summer in Alaska as a child. I was 11.
Wow.
My dad was a teacher. He was too, always working on that bucket list. So, I started when I was young because he was this guy. So some of my things were checked off as a child because I had an adventurous father who loved to travel and fish.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How many states have you been to?
I'm at 46.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah. But a lot of those I had off of my list when I was a child. So,
right.
So some of those I'll be revisiting once we're retired. The whole waiting. And my father too died in his early 50s. And had he not been the type to just go and do what you want to do, it would have been a more sad situation. Same with my husband. We always made time for travel and adventure. Mm-hmm. And had that not been the case, it would have been a lot sadder seeing him pass at 61, almost 62 years old and not yet retired. So I think the sad part is like I said, my life became a question mark after I was widowed, knowing what my future was going to be, seeing that we were so close to retirement. And then I decided that my hopes and dreams don't need to be banished because Ray died. If I do that, I'm letting death win twice. So instead, I choose not to squander away the days he was denied. People need to just get out there and live. There's a plan B. It doesn't go the way we expect it to sometimes. We can't plan everything and expect it to be just that way. We've had to make alterations in our lives before. They just maybe weren't this big, but that doesn't mean that you stop living or stop dreaming or stop traveling, or your retirement dream should and can still come true.
Don't put it off. Just do it. Right. Yeah.
Wow. That was a great statement.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. You're a great guest.
Thank you.
And our first Midwest guest. We've been looking long for somebody from the Midwest.
Thanks, Julie.
And we've heard so many people moving to the Midwest, especially I know Wisconsin and Montana.
Yeah.
Yes. I had told you yesterday, I have a friend in Bozeman that left here. See, a lot of people our age came out to this oil field. A substantial amount of money could be made in a short amount of time. So my husband said, we're in this red zone of retirement. We could make 25 years of money in 10 years. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And so we didn't have to do this. We chose to do this. My friend Nancy, her husband actually worked with my late husband, and they got to leave here and have their dream come true together. And they bought a home in Bozeman several years before they left here. And thank goodness they did, because there has been such a huge influx of people, especially Californians, coming to their area, that the prices have just skyrocketed.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. The poor West Coasters, with the fires and the droughts.
And the price of homes.
So you've got a lot of wealthy folks who...
And the taxes.
Yeah. The taxes are incredible. So the Midwest is going to really be the boom, or already.
For that reason, and also because there's so many disasters in the East and the West Coast, people are moving to the Midwest because there aren't as many. Yeah.
Right. Occasional tornado. And thankfully, my lake home has a full basement.
Oh, man.
That wasn't something you saw a lot of looking at homes on lake properties. Not always.
Yeah. And that Alaska trip sounds amazing, Julie.
So
thank you.
I just have one last question about your home. You mentioned yesterday about you're going to put a glamping tent out by the...
Oh, yeah.
So just talk a little about that.
So one of the things on my bucket list was to stay in one of these wall tents, a glamping experience. So when Bob and I had decided to run up to Alaska last year, I found a place. We had planned to hike a glacier, and we did. Right near there was a little place that had those wall tents, and it literally opened up and you could see a view of a little bit of the glacier and the mountains. It was just incredible. And we enjoyed it so much. Bob had slept in wall tents in the past, mostly because he hunts. And when they would elk hunt, they would go in they do it every year. They go in on horseback, and then they set up these tents and they camp there and hunt from there. But I'd never spent a night in a wall tent. So we had such an amazing experience with that. There's a perfect spot on our property at the lake in Wisconsin to put a wall tent up, and it's not far from the lake shore. So you'll be able to fall asleep listening to the rippling of the water.
Oh,
wow.
Nice.
We have loons on my lake. If you have never heard a loon, it's life-changing. And just to hear those when the sun goes down, especially in oh my goodness. So yeah, it's going to be an experience that we can offer our friends and family when they come to visit. So we're going to put a big queen or king size bed in there. And we're going to put lots of cushy, down comforters if it's that time of the year, and
so cozy
little fairy lights. And and then the opening will open up there'll be a little deck off the front, and then you're not far from the lake shore. So it'll be nice. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds magical.
I'm looking forward to that.
On that note, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you. It was nice.
This is
so
great.
Nice to meet you, Julie.
You too. All
Take
right.
care.
Take
care.
care.
Bye-bye.
Good weekend.
Sure. Bye-bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you know someone who's relocated for retirement and wishes to share their story with us, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is gg@retirethere.com. Our website is retirethere.com, and you may follow us on Twitter @retirethere_. Now, if you've liked our show, please subscribe and rate it in Apple Podcasts. In the meantime, be well.